The world wants your reaction. Every headline, every comment, every distraction is designed to make you lose control. They want your focus. They want your anger. They want your attention because if they control your emotions, they control your life. But not you. Not anymore. You are here to build something different, something rare. A mind that doesn't flinch. A mind that doesn't fold. A mind that doesn't break when the world pushes back. This is not motivation. This is training. Training to master silence in chaos. Training to choose discipline over drama. Training to stay calm when everyone else panics. Because the strongest one in the room isn't the loudest, it's the one who can stay centered while the storm rages. This is your moment. The moment you stop being reactive and start becoming unstoppable. Chapter 1. Control your emotions or they will control you. You think you're in control, but you're not. Not when you're angry. Not when you're jealous. Not when you let every little thing pull your strings. The truth is simple. If you don't control your emotions, they will control you. That's not a metaphor. That's a law. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every step you take is driven by either emotional reaction or emotional control. One destroys your peace. The other builds your power. You have a choice. Every single day, you have a choice. You can react or you can respond. You can explode or you can endure. You can let the world move you or you can move the world by refusing to react. That's the key. Control isn't about pretending you don't feel. It's about mastering what you feel. It's not about suppression. It's about direction. When you get angry, your brain tells you one thing, fight. When you're afraid, it tells you another, run. But the unshakable mind says, wait. Pause. Breathe. Choose. You don't need to react instantly. You don't need to match their energy. You don't need their permission to stay calm. That's power. Every time you react emotionally, you hand over control. You give it away to them, to the situation, to the noise. Every time you lash out, overthink, panic, or complain, you're not winning. You're being moved like a pawn. And you're better than that. The strong don't fight every battle. They choose them. They know that calm is strategy. They know that silence is control. That's the difference between the impulsive and the intentional. The impulsive say, I had no choice. The intentional say, I always do. You have a choice. And every choice you make either strengthens your mind or weakens it. Think of your emotions like waves. You can't stop them from coming, but you can learn to surf. The waves are not the problem, your resistance to them is. You can't stop anger. You can't stop fear. But you can decide what to do with them. You can turn anger into focus. You can turn fear into preparation. You can turn pain into purpose. That's the transformation. That's the real control. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. When you let your emotions lead, they blind you. You make impulsive decisions. You say things you can't take back. You destroy trust, burn bridges, and lose momentum, all because you forgot the one rule. You are not your emotions. You are the observer. You are the commander. You are the driver, not the engine. Every emotion is a message, not a master. Anger is saying, something feels unfair. Fear is saying, something feels uncertain. Sadness is saying, something needs healing. Listen to the message. Then act with logic, not impulse. That's mastery. Here's the truth. Control doesn't mean you never feel. It means you feel everything and still decide what deserves your energy. When someone insults you, you can breathe and stay still. When a plan fails, you can adapt instead of collapse. When fear rises, you can look it in the eye and keep walking. That's not emotional numbness, that's emotional strength. That's self-command. You don't need their approval to stay calm. You don't need their respect to stay centered. You don't need the world to understand you because calm people are always misunderstood. But they win. They always win. Because calm doesn't mean weak. Calm means focused. Calm means disciplined. Calm means dangerous in the right way. When chaos rises, and everyone around you panics, you don't. When people lash out, you don't match their tone, you lower yours. When emotions try to take over, you remember. You control the moment by controlling your mind. That's how warriors are made. Not by emotion, but by endurance. Not by noise, but by awareness. The world rewards emotional control because control leads to consistency, and consistency builds dominance. The emotional chase drama. The disciplined chase peace. You don't need excitement. You need focus. You don't need approval. You need control. That's the key. That's the difference. So here's your daily discipline. When you feel triggered, stop. When you feel attacked, breathe. When you feel rushed, slow down. Repeat this in your mind. I control my emotions. My emotions do not control me. Say it until it becomes a reflex. Say it until calm becomes your default. Say it until silence becomes your power. Because every time you choose calm over chaos, you gain strength. Every time you delay reaction, you gain freedom. Every time you stay centered, you win the invisible battle. That's what this chapter is about. Control. Command. Calm. The unshakable mind isn't built in comfort. It's built in the moments where you could lose control but don't. It's built in the pause between reaction and response. That's where your power lives. You have a choice. Always. Choose control. Because emotional control is the first step toward mental mastery. And mastery is the first step toward freedom. You've learned how to stop letting your emotions drive your life. You've built awareness. You've built control. Now, it's time to take that control even deeper. Because control without silence is unstable. And silence is strength. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Silence. Silence. The most misunderstood form of strength. You think power comes from words. From saying more. From proving your point. But the truth is simple. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the one in control. The powerful man doesn't rush to speak. He doesn't explain himself to everyone. He doesn't need to. Because real power doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly. That's the discipline of silence. You don't always need to answer. You don't always need to explain. You don't always need to react. Sometimes silence is the answer. Sometimes silence is the weapon. Sometimes silence is the shield. You have a choice. You can speak from emotion, or you can wait for clarity. You can chase validation, or you can preserve peace. That's the key. Every word you speak either builds your credibility or burns it. Every unnecessary comment drains energy that could have built your focus. You don't need their permission to stay silent. You don't need their approval to walk away. You don't need to be understood to be effective. The world will test this discipline every day. People will provoke you. Situations will bait you. Your ego will demand attention. But you must resist. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is control. Silence is strategy. When you hold your tongue, you hold your power. When you don't react, you force others to reveal themselves. When you wait, you win. The weak talk to prove. The strong act to show. You have to decide which one you'll be. In the modern world, noise is a drug. Everyone's addicted to being seen, heard, validated. But silence? Silence feels uncomfortable. Because it exposes truth. It exposes your thoughts, your motives, your habits. That's why silence is discipline. It forces you to sit with yourself, to hear your own thoughts, to confront what you've been avoiding with noise. You scroll because silence is scary. You talk because you fear being ignored. But silence is where you find yourself again. It's not about avoiding people. It's about conserving energy. It's not about isolation. It's about precision. Every word you don't say becomes focus. You can redirect. Every reaction you suppress becomes strength you can use. That's the shift. In battle, the most dangerous man is the one who says nothing. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't warn. He observes. He waits. He strikes once with intention. The same principle applies to life. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to announce every plan. You don't need to respond to every opinion. Because the more you talk, the more you leak. The more you leak, the less you build. And the less you build, the weaker you become. You build strength in silence. You build confidence in silence. You build mastery in silence. Silence is a mirror. It reflects who you are when no one's watching. It reveals your insecurities. It reveals your impatience. It reveals your ego. But that's the point. Silence trains you to face those weaknesses. Every time you resist the urge to speak, you strengthen your awareness. Every time you choose stillness over reaction, you increase your control. It's not about being passive. It's about being deliberate. You speak when it serves purpose. You move when it matters. You act when it counts. That's discipline. That's power. Let's make it practical. Here's how to practice the discipline of silence. First, stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided who you are. They don't want clarity. They want control. You owe them nothing. Second, listen twice as much as you speak. Observe people. Learn patterns. Because what they reveal in their noise will guide your next move. Third, create silent hours in your day. No talking. No scrolling. No reacting. Just you, your thoughts, and your purpose. That's where growth begins. Fourth, hold back opinions unless they add value. Most arguments are traps for your energy. You don't need to win every debate. You need to win your focus. You have a choice. Every moment, you can waste your breath or you can save it for what matters. You can defend yourself or you can let your results do the talking. You can seek attention or you can seek progress. That's the key. Because silence multiplies everything you protect. Peace. Energy. Time. Vision. It sharpens your instincts. It amplifies your awareness. The person who can stay silent in chaos, who can resist the need to explain that person is untouchable. But make no mistake, silence will test you. You'll want to correct people. You'll want to prove them wrong. You'll want to show your side of the story. Don't. Remember this. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be effective. They can talk. You can build. They can argue. You can act. They can shout. You can move in silence and let your success make the noise. When you stop wasting words, your mind becomes sharper. When you stop reacting, your decisions become cleaner. When you stop chasing validation, your life becomes lighter. That's what silence gives you space. Space to think. Space to plan. Space to grow. The discipline of silence is not for the faint. It's for the focused. It's for the ones who no longer chase attention, they command it, effortlessly, through consistency. You don't need their permission to be silent. You don't need their applause to stay calm. You don't need their understanding to keep building. You just need discipline. Because silence builds strength. And strength builds mastery. And mastery builds freedom. That's how the unshakable mind evolves. Emotionally controlled. Silently disciplined. Internally unstoppable. You've learned to hold your peace. Now, it's time to harden your endurance. Because silence is nothing without consistency, and consistency is everything. You've mastered silence. Now, let's talk about the force that separates the dreamers from the disciplined. Chapter 3. Stop negotiating with laziness. You know what kills potential? Negotiation. Not with others, with yourself. Every day, you negotiate with your weakness. You tell yourself you'll start later. You tell yourself you've done enough. You tell yourself you deserve rest you haven't earned. That's the voice of laziness, and it sounds reasonable. It whispers, not shouts. It comforts, not challenges. It's the voice that tells you to wait for the right time, the right mood, the right energy. But here's the truth. The right time never comes. You either move now or you never do. You either act through discomfort or you live in regret. That's the key. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Laziness is not just lying in bed. It's hesitation. It's procrastination. It's distraction, disguised as productivity. Checking your phone when you should be working, that's laziness. Starting 10 things and finishing none, that's laziness. Talking about what you'll do instead of doing it, that's laziness. You can dress it up however you want. You can call it planning. You can call it thinking. You can call it rest. But if it's not moving you forward, it's holding you back. You have a choice. You can make excuses or you can make progress. You can wait for the right feeling or you can act until it appears. Stop negotiating with that inner voice. It's not your friend. It's your limiter. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," it grows stronger. Every time you skip one small task, it takes control. Every time you listen to comfort, you silence your calling. Laziness is a parasite and negotiation feeds it. You say, "I'll work after breakfast." Then, "I'll start after lunch." Then, "Tomorrow will be better." It never ends. You can't reason with laziness. You can only replace it. Replace it with action. Replace it with structure. Replace it with discipline. That's the cure. Understand this. Discipline doesn't need emotion. It doesn't care how you feel. It only cares that you show up. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. The disciplined person does what needs to be done whether they feel like it or not. That's strength. That's leadership. That's freedom. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. And if your system allows negotiation, you'll always lose. Stop arguing with the alarm clock. Stop reasoning with resistance. Stop explaining why you can't. The more you talk, the less you act. And the less you act, the weaker your mind becomes. Let's make it simple. You want to change your life? Then build habits that don't ask for your opinion. Wake up, move. Feel tired, move. Feel unmotivated, move. Because motion creates momentum. And momentum destroys laziness. That's the key. You don't need to feel ready. You need to feel accountable. Here's the real-world truth most people avoid. Laziness isn't about being tired. It's about being undisciplined. You're not exhausted. You're untrained. Your mind hasn't learned how to obey your command. You've trained yourself to stop when it's uncomfortable, to quit when it's boring, to delay when it's difficult. That's not fatigue. That's habit. So retrain it. Start small. Make the bed. Do the workout. Finish the page. Don't negotiate. Don't delay. Don't question. Every time you act instantly, you rewrite your identity. You prove to yourself that you're not the same person as yesterday. You build momentum, and momentum is more powerful than motivation. Discipline is a language of action. Every rep, every task, every hour it speaks louder than words. The world respects the doer, not the dreamer. The builder, not the talker. When you stop negotiating with laziness, you stop living by emotion. You start living by execution. You won't always win, but you'll always move. And movement, that's progress. Let's make something clear. Discipline doesn't mean burnout. It means boundaries. You rest when you've earned it. You relax when the work is complete. You recover to rebuild, not to escape. That's how the strong operate. They don't avoid fatigue, they manage it. They don't seek comfort, they control it. It's not about punishment. It's about purpose. It's not about pushing endlessly. It's about deciding this gets done, no matter what. You don't need their permission to be consistent. You don't need their motivation to show up. You don't need their validation to commit. You just need to stop negotiating. Stop talking yourself out of your own greatness. Stop bargaining with comfort. You are not tired, you are capable. You are not stuck, you are stalling. You are not waiting, you are wasting. That's the truth. And it hurts because it's real. But here's the good news. You can change that in one decision. Start now. Not later. Not tomorrow. Now. Because every time you start, you silence the voice that told you not to. Every time you finish, you weaken the grip of laziness. Every time you act, you evolve. That's how discipline grows. No more internal debates. No more 5 more minutes. No more I'll start Monday. Start now. Work now. Move now. Because the mind that delays dies in its comfort zone. And comfort is the slowest death there is. You have a choice. You can live small or you can live sharp. You can feed excuses or you can feed results. It's not about talent. It's about training. It's not about potential. It's about persistence. And it's not about motivation. It's about discipline. You've learned to stop negotiating with laziness. You've replaced excuses with execution. You've built action into identity. Now, it's time to take that consistency even further. Because one act of discipline means little without repetition. The next step is where real strength is built. The kind that compounds. The kind that lasts. You've killed negotiation. Now, let's master momentum. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Consistency. Success doesn't belong to the smartest. It belongs to the most consistent. You've seen it. People who aren't the most talented, but they show up. They don't need the spotlight. They don't need praise. They just keep moving. Consistency is the quiet force that separates the talkers from the doers. It's not loud. It's not glamorous. It's repetitive, deliberately repetitive. That's the key. You don't need intensity. You need rhythm. Consistency is not motivation. Motivation fades when life gets heavy. Consistency stays when everything else collapses. Motivation is emotional. Consistency is logical. One depends on how you feel. The other depends on what you've decided. You have a choice. You can live by your feelings or by your principles. That's the difference between temporary effort and lasting mastery. Here's what most people never understand. Consistency isn't about doing everything. It's about doing one thing again and again until you can't get it wrong. That's how mastery works. You do it when you're tired. You do it when you're bored. You do it when nobody is watching. Because greatness isn't built in bursts. It's built in patterns. If you want to change your life, stop chasing variety. Start chasing reliability. Stop saying someday. Start saying every day. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters consistently. You don't need more hours. You need more repetition. You don't need new goals. You need new habits. That's the real psychology of success. Let's get practical. Here's how you build consistency that lasts. Number 1. Make it non-negotiable. Treat your habits like breathing. You don't debate it. You don't delay it. You just do it. Number 2. Make it visible. Track your progress. See your streaks. Watch your pattern grow. The brain loves visible proof of progress. Number 3. Make it boring. If it's exciting, it won't last. Boring routines build unbreakable results. That's the secret no one wants to hear. Consistency is boring, but boredom builds empires. When you understand that, discipline becomes easy. Because now you know what the mind really wants: predictability. Your brain isn't wired for chaos. It craves order. When you give it structure, it rewards you with momentum. That's why consistent people seem unstoppable. They're not superhuman, they're automated. They've trained their brain to execute without debate. But consistency has an enemy: emotion. The moment you let feelings dictate your actions, your rhythm breaks. You say, "I don't feel like it today." And your identity listens. You just told your mind that emotion has authority. Stop giving your feelings the power to choose. They don't get a vote. Discipline is the decision maker now. Because you don't need to feel ready. You need to stay reliable. That's the power of consistency. It doesn't care how you feel. It only cares that you show up. Think about this. Every master you admire, from athletes to creators to thinkers, has one common trait: repetition. They trained when others slept. They practiced when others quit. They kept going when it stopped being fun. Why? Because they understood psychology. The brain doesn't respect ideas. It respects patterns. Each repetition reprograms your self-belief. Each day you show up, your identity upgrades. You're not trying to become disciplined. You are disciplined. That's how transformation happens. You don't need to win every day. You just need to keep showing up every day. Small wins compound. Tiny actions stack. Invisible progress becomes undeniable. Consistency isn't glamorous, but it's unbeatable. You can outlast anyone if you refuse to stop. Because consistency always beats intensity. Every single time. Remember this mantra. It's not about speed. It's about direction. It's not about perfection, it's about persistence. You don't need to be the fastest. You just need to still be standing when everyone else gives up. That's the unshakable mind. That's your advantage. You've learned not to negotiate with laziness. Now you've learned how to weaponize your consistency. The next step is about refinement, the next level of discipline. Because showing up is half the battle. The other half is what you do when you arrive. You've built rhythm. Now, let's build precision. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Focus. Focus is a superpower, but most people waste it. They scatter it across distractions. They divide it between 100 meaningless tasks. They chase everything and catch nothing. The disciplined mind does the opposite. It learns to narrow the beam, to lock on, to ignore everything that doesn't matter. That's the key. You can't go deep if you're always going wide. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters better. The undisciplined mind confuses activity with achievement. It mistakes movement for progress. Scrolling isn't learning. Talking isn't building. Planning isn't doing. That's the lie of the distracted age, that you can multitask your way to mastery. You can't. You have to pick your battles and commit to them completely. Focus is ruthless. It's not kind. It says no over and over again. Every yes you give to a distraction is a no to your destiny. Every time you chase noise, you lose signal. The strongest minds protect their focus like their life depends on it because it does. You have to treat attention like currency. Spend it with intention. Guard it with discipline. Invest it where it multiplies, not where it disappears. Stop giving your attention away for free. Stop letting everyone rent space in your head. You don't owe the world constant access to your mind. You owe yourself control. That's what focus really is, mental ownership. Here's how to master it. Number 1. Audit your attention. Every day, write down where your focus went. You'll see what's stealing your time. Number 2. Eliminate noise. You can't build clarity in chaos. Silence the notifications. Clean your space. Clear your schedule. Number 3. Build deep work windows. 1 hour of pure focus beats 5 hours of scattered effort. Train your mind to dive deep, then come up for air. Focus is not natural. It's trained. It's earned through repetition and resistance. At first, it's hard. Your brain fights it. It craves novelty, the next hit, the next scroll, the next escape. But if you stay disciplined, it adapts. It starts to crave depth. It starts to enjoy silence. That's when you know you've reclaimed your mind. Distraction is modern slavery, and your attention is the chain. Every beep, every ping, every notification, it pulls you away from mastery. You have to break that chain. Reclaim your time. Rebuild your focus. You don't need to do everything. You need to finish something. Focus is the art of subtraction. You remove what doesn't matter until only purpose remains. That's discipline. That's freedom. Because when you stop chasing everything, you finally catch something. You have a choice. You can be everywhere and achieve nothing. Or you can be somewhere and achieve greatness. That's what separates the unfocused from the unstoppable. The difference isn't intelligence, it's intention. It's not about being busy. It's about being deliberate. You don't need their attention. You need your own. You've learned how to stay consistent. Now you've learned how to stay focused. The next step is control. Because focus gives you clarity. But control gives you power. You've mastered attention. Now, let's master emotion. Chapter 6. The Power of Emotional Control. You lose more battles to your emotions than to your enemies. Not because they're stronger, but because you give them control. Every reaction costs you power. Every outburst steals your focus. Every moment of anger, frustration, or fear, it pulls you off your path. The mind can't lead when emotions are in charge. And if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anything. That's the truth. Emotional control isn't about suppression. It's about direction. You don't ignore your emotions, you master them. You listen, but you don't obey. You feel, but you don't fall. That's strength. That's what separates a calm mind from a chaotic one. You have to understand this. Emotions are not instructions. They're signals. They tell you something, but they don't get to decide everything. The undisciplined mind reacts. The disciplined mind responds. Reactions are impulsive. Responses are intentional. Reaction says, I'll show them. Response says, I'll show myself. Reaction wastes energy. Response channels it. That's the difference between losing control and using control. Here's what emotional weakness looks like. You get offended by words. You let opinions dictate your peace. You overthink what others never even noticed. You let every external vibration shake your inner world. And here's what emotional power looks like. You hear the noise but stay unmoved. You see the chaos but remain centered. You choose silence over reaction. That's emotional maturity. That's what power feels like. When someone provokes you, they're testing your mastery. They want to see if you can be pulled from your foundation. Don't give them that power. Stay grounded. Stay still. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to explain your worth. You don't need to defend your peace. Silence is not weakness, it's control. That's the key. Emotional control is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of self-command. You have a choice. You can let emotions drive you, or you can use them as fuel. Anger, channel it into discipline. Fear, convert it into preparation. Sadness, turn it into reflection. Emotion isn't your enemy, indiscipline is. When you learn to use emotion without being used by it, you become unstoppable. Here's the problem. Most people live at the mercy of their mood. They wake up reactive. They scroll for stimulation. They let the world decide how they'll feel. You can't build an unshakable mind like that. You have to reverse it. You must start each day as the master, not the puppet. Wake up and center yourself before the world tells you who to be. Breathe before you speak. Think before you act. Respond before you react. That's control. Let's go deeper. Emotions are chemicals. They rise, peak, and fade. But most people extend their lifespan by replaying them. Something happens, and instead of letting it pass, they relive it 100 times. That's emotional addiction. The more you replay pain, the more your mind depends on it. You can't heal if you keep rehearsing the wound. You can't grow if you keep feeding the drama. You have to cut the loop. You have to say, enough. Feel it, learn from it, then release it. That's mastery. Here's what emotional control looks like in practice. Number 1. Pause before reaction. A 3-second delay can save you 3 days of regret. Use it. Number 2. Reframe the story. Don't say, "This is happening to me." Say, "This is happening for me." That one sentence changes everything. Number 3. Preserve your energy. Not every battle deserves your attention. Let silence win sometimes. This is emotional discipline, the highest form of strength. Understand something. When you control your emotions, you control time. Because time is not just minutes, it's attention. Every emotional storm steals hours of your life you'll never get back. You're not just losing peace, you're losing progress. You can't execute when you're emotional. You can't think clearly when you're reactive. That's why calm people win. They stay logical when others panic. They stay still when others flinch. They stay focused when others explode. The calm mind always outlasts the chaotic one. You don't need to be emotionless. You need to be emotionally intelligent. Control doesn't mean coldness. It means command. It means you decide when to feel, how to respond, what to give energy to. You can cry and still be strong. You can hurt and still have control. You can feel deeply and still act deliberately. That's real mastery. Not suppression. Not numbness. Just power. Every emotion carries a message. Your job is to interpret, not imitate. When anger shows up, ask, what boundary was crossed? When fear appears, ask, what's unprepared in me? When sadness arrives, ask, what's changing? This is how you turn emotion into wisdom. This is how you use pain as fuel, not poison. Emotional control is a daily discipline. You don't learn it once. You practice it forever. You'll fail sometimes, that's fine. Growth is not linear. Mastery is not instant. What matters is that you keep returning to the center, again and again. until calm becomes your default setting. You'll know you've evolved when people try to provoke you, and it simply doesn't work anymore. That's when you've graduated from emotion to execution. Remember this mantra. It's not about how you feel, it's about how you function. You can feel doubt and still do the work. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel hurt and still stay focused. That's the unshakable mind. Not emotionless, but emotion-proof. You've learned how to master your energy. You've learned how to command your emotions. Now it's time to strengthen the next foundation of power, self-trust. Because discipline and control mean nothing if you don't believe in your own word. And self-trust, that's where true inner power begins. You've mastered emotion. Now, let's master confidence. Chapter 7. Trust yourself again. You've broken more promises to yourself than to anyone else. You say you'll start, and you don't. You say you'll stop, and you don't. You say this time will be different, and it isn't. That's why you feel weak. That's why you feel lost. Not because you lack ability, but because you no longer trust your own word. You've lied to yourself too many times. And here's the truth. You can't build confidence on broken commitments. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the calm certainty that says, I do what I say I'll do. That's real self-trust. It's not affirmations. It's not hype. It's not pretending. It's proof. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for belief. Every time you break one, you cast a vote for doubt. You are what you repeatedly honor or betray. That's the key. Here's what most people get wrong. They think confidence comes from results. But it doesn't. It comes from integrity. You don't feel good because you win because you feel good about your word. When your word means something to you, your life changes. You stop overthinking. You stop doubting. You stop needing approval. Because you already have trust your own. You don't need their validation. You need your consistency. You don't need their praise. You need your follow-through. You don't need their belief. You need your execution. That's where real confidence lives, in your daily follow-through. Let's get brutally honest. You say you're tired of starting over, but you keep quitting. You say you're waiting for the right time, but time doesn't create trust. Action does. You have to rebuild your credibility with yourself. Brick by brick. Day by day. Start with one promise, small, simple, non-negotiable. Keep it. Then keep another. Then another. That's how trust returns, through repetition. Here's a truth that hurts. You can't fake confidence. You can fake smiles. You can fake motivation. But you can't fake belief in your own word. The body knows when the soul is lying. You can say, I've got this all you want, but if your actions don't match, your subconscious won't buy it. That's why affirmations without execution don't work. The mind doesn't listen to talk, it listens to evidence. So give it evidence. When you say you'll wake up early, do it. When you say you'll work out, do it. When you say you'll finish the task, finish it. You don't do it to impress anyone. You do it to rebuild your foundation. Every small promise kept, that's a deposit in your bank of confidence. Every broken one, that's a withdrawal. You're not running out of time. You're running out of trust. People talk about self-love, but you can't love someone you don't trust. And that includes you. Self-love without self-trust is self-deception. You don't build self-esteem by saying, I'm enough. You build it by proving, I'm reliable. It's not about words. It's about evidence. The mind respects proof, not promises. You have to stop outsourcing your faith. Stop waiting for others to believe in you first. Stop needing the world to clap before you start. You're not waiting for their permission. You're waiting for your own commitment. Once you trust yourself again, External opinions become noise. They don't shake you anymore because your foundation is internal. That's what makes you unshakable. Here's the formula. 1. Start small. Don't overcommit. Do one thing daily and honor it completely. 2. Track progress. Write it down. Record proof of what you've done. Your brain needs to see your discipline. 3. Forgive but don't forget. When you break a promise, own it. Reset immediately. But remember the pain of failure as fuel. You can't rebuild self-trust overnight, but you can start now. You can't undo every broken promise, but you can stop breaking new ones. It's not about being perfect. It's about being faithful to your word. Because that's all trust really is, reliability over time. And the moment you become reliable to yourself, everything changes. When you trust yourself, indecision disappears. Because you know whatever happens, you'll handle it. That's power. You don't need certainty, you are certainty. You don't need motivation, you are the proof. That's the transformation. From I hope to I know. From I'll try to I will. From maybe to watch me. Here's what happens when you rebuild trust. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop fearing failure. You stop doubting your instincts. Because self-trust is the ultimate freedom. It's quiet. It's powerful. It's final. It doesn't need to announce itself. It just acts. And that's the kind of confidence the world respects. You have a choice. You can stay in the cycle of self-doubt, or you can become the person your younger self needed. The one who follows through. The one who keeps promises. The one who acts when others hesitate. That's how you rebuild belief. That's how you reclaim your mind. That's how you become unshakable. You've learned to control your emotions. Now you've learned to rebuild your trust. The next evolution is power, not the kind the world gives, but the kind you command from within. Because when trust meets power, discipline becomes destiny. You've rebuilt your foundation. Now, let's master control over your world. Chapter 8. The Art of Self-Command. Most people are slaves. Not to others. Not to systems. But to themselves, to their impulses, to their emotions, to their distractions. They think they're free because they do whatever they want. But freedom without control is chaos. And chaos destroys potential. You don't need more freedom. You need more control over you. That's the art of self-command. When your mind says, I don't feel like it, and you obey, you lose power. When your emotions dictate your choices, your discipline weakens. When your comfort wins over your purpose, your vision dies a little. Every time you surrender to impulse, you teach your brain that weakness wins. Every time you delay discipline, you vote for chaos. That's the truth no one wants to face. Your enemy isn't fear, doubt, or failure. Your enemy is disobedience to your higher self. You can't lead others until you lead yourself. You can't demand respect until you obey your own standards. You can't build power until you command your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Power begins with obedience. Self-obedience. The ability to say, I will do it no matter how I feel. That's real mastery. You have to understand this. Discipline isn't punishment. It's direction. It's order. Its strength is under control. You don't train discipline to restrict yourself. You train it to liberate yourself from the chaos of emotion. Most people let feelings make decisions. That's why they never progress. You can't wait to feel ready. You must act ready. That's the command. Think of your mind as a soldier waiting for orders. If your commander hesitates, the army falls apart. You are the commander. Your mind is the soldier. When you say, we move, the body obeys. When you say, we endure, the pain submits. When you say, we finish, the doubt disappears. That's how power feels: quiet, focused, unbending. It's not about motivation. Motivation is emotional. Command is mechanical. You don't rely on moods. You rely on orders. I said I'll wake up early, so I wake up early. I said I'll train, so I train. I said I'll build, so I build. You don't debate it. You don't negotiate with it. You obey it. That's how warriors live. That's how the unshakable rise. When you live by command, something shifts. Doubt loses its volume. Fear loses its power. Excuses lose their flavor. Because the voice of discipline becomes louder than the voice of comfort. Every day you obey your higher standard, you forge another layer of steel in your mind. That's self-command, the transformation of intention into instinct. You have to stop being emotional about progress. Stop attaching your worth to how you feel. Feelings are weather, they change. Command is climate, it stays. When you live by command, you act regardless of emotion. You build consistency. You build reliability. You build control. That's the foundation of greatness. Remember this. Power isn't loud. It's not found in shouting, forcing, or dominating others. True power is internal stillness, the strength to stay calm under chaos, the will to choose discipline over desire. That's self-command. When others react, you respond. When others quit, you continue. When others panic, you execute. That's how leaders are born, not from charisma, but from composure. Let's get practical. Here's how you train the art of self-command. Number 1. Define your orders clearly. Every morning, give yourself specific, measurable tasks. Don't leave room for maybe. Command thrives on clarity. Number 2. Eliminate debate. Once the order is given, the discussion ends. You act. You don't ask how you feel about it. Number 3. Review your execution daily. A commander inspects their troops. You inspect your actions. Did you obey or disobey your plan? Be honest. Adjust tomorrow. Here's what happens when you practice this for 30 days. You stop being at the mercy of impulse. You stop needing willpower because obedience becomes automatic. You stop living emotionally and start living intentionally. And that's when people notice. They'll call it focus. They'll call it discipline. But what it really is self-command. Understand something: the mind doesn't resist control, it craves it. Without order, it panics. Without direction, it wanders. Without structure, it self-destructs. You're not suppressing your mind, you're leading it. The same way a general commands his army, you command your impulses, your focus, your time. That's how you win the internal war. You have a choice. Keep obeying comfort and stay stuck. Or start obeying your purpose and rise. You can't serve both masters. One builds you. One destroys you. You decide which one gets your loyalty. Because discipline isn't about control for control's sake. It's about alignment with the person you're becoming. You don't need more motivation. You need more obedience to your mission. Stop saying, "I want to." Start saying, "I will." Stop waiting for clarity. Start giving yourself orders. Stop doubting your capability. Start trusting your command. That's how you transform from chaos to control, from reaction to precision, from follower to leader. You are your own commander now. And once you master that, you become dangerous not to others, but to weakness itself. Because a man or woman under command is unstoppable. They don't need the world to move, they make the world move. They don't follow trends, they set standards. That's the essence of power. You've rebuilt trust. You've learned command. Now it's time to understand what separates the disciplined from the defeated, the ability to endure. Because power means nothing without persistence. Chapter 9. The Endurance Principle. Everyone wants to start strong. Few want to stay strong. Starting is easy. Enduring is rare. Anyone can begin when it's new. But endurance is the bridge between desire and destiny. You can have the best mindset, the perfect plan, the strongest motivation. But if you don't have endurance, you'll never finish. Because the truth is simple. Discipline begins when excitement ends. The world celebrates quick wins. They praise overnight success. They reward the start. But they forget the middle, the grind, the boredom, the endless repetition. That's where champions are made. That's where the unshakable are forged. Endurance isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's not exciting. It's quiet, repetitive, relentless. It's doing what you said you'd do, long after the emotion is gone. That's the endurance principle. Let's be real. Most people quit, not because they're weak, but because they expect progress to feel good. It doesn't. Progress hurts. It's heavy. It's lonely. But pain isn't punishment, it's proof. It means you're building capacity. When you stop seeing pain as suffering and start seeing it as strength training, everything changes. You stop asking why me, and start saying try me. That's the difference. Endurance isn't about being fearless. It's about feeling fear and moving anyway. It's not about feeling motivated. It's about being committed when motivation dies. It's not about being confident. It's about being consistent when confidence fades. That's endurance, emotional stability under stress. Here's the truth. You don't build endurance in comfort. You build it in resistance. Every setback is a test of staying power. Every failure is a rep in mental strength training. And if you can't endure discomfort, you'll never enjoy discipline. You can't be unshakable if you collapse at the first sign of fatigue. You have to learn to sit in the struggle and keep moving. You have to learn to stay. The weak chase variety. The strong embrace repetition. Endurance is built through monotony, the same routines, the same grind, the same focus, every single day. The average mind gets bored. The disciplined mind gets stronger. Because every repeated action ingrains belief. Every boring day strengthens identity. That's why the unshakable never chase excitement, they chase results. There's a phrase every high performer lives by. I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when I'm done. That's endurance. That's the mindset that separates winners from watchers. Tired is not a command to stop. It's a signal to adjust. You can rest, but you don't quit. That's what people don't understand. Rest is part of endurance, not an escape from it. You pause to recover. You don't pause to retreat. You have a choice every day: quit early or stay longer. That's where character is built. You're not being tested when things are easy. You're being tested when it feels endless, when progress slows, when the reward isn't visible. That's when you find out what you're made of. The people who endure don't have less pain. They just have more purpose. And purpose always outlasts pain. You have to stop thinking short-term. Stop expecting instant results. Stop mistaking slow progress for no progress. A tree doesn't grow by force, it grows by consistency. A muscle doesn't strengthen in a day, it strengthens through strain. Your mind doesn't toughen overnight, it toughens through trials. Endurance is the quiet, patient, daily act of not giving up. Here's the process. First, expect resistance. The moment you commit to growth, life will test you. Expect it. It's not a curse, it's confirmation. Second, embrace repetition. The grind is the goal. Every rep, every day, every task is training your endurance muscle. Third, Redefine progress. Progress isn't how far you've come, it's how long you've stayed when others left. When you learn to endure, something profound happens. You stop needing fast results. You stop chasing comfort. You stop fearing delay. Because you understand that everything worthwhile takes time. You become immune to impatience. You become allergic to excuses. You become calm in chaos. That's real power, the ability to stay when others flee. Endurance isn't about being the fastest. It's about being the last one standing. It's the power of patience combined with persistence. It's not glamorous, but it's unstoppable. Because the person who endures eventually becomes inevitable. That's the truth no one wants to hear. The world doesn't reward the smartest or the most talented. It rewards the one who stayed the longest. So here's your challenge. Don't aim to start strong. Aim to finish steady. Don't seek speed. Seek staying power. Don't wish for motivation. Build momentum through endurance. You can't control the storm, but you can control your stride. You can't predict the timeline, but you can persist through time. That's what makes you unshakable. You have a choice. You can stop at almost. Or you can push until accomplished. You can live a life of constant beginnings or one of completed missions. The choice is yours, and it always has been. Endure. Don't just survive, outlast. You've learned to command yourself. You've learned to endure the process. Now, it's time to talk about what comes next, the reward of endurance and command. Clarity, stillness, and purpose. Because endurance without vision is just survival, and survival isn't enough. Chapter 10. The Power of Stillness. Silence isn't weakness. Stillness isn't laziness. Calm isn't surrender. Stillness is control in motion. It's the strength that doesn't need to prove itself. It's the highest level of mastery, the ability to be calm when chaos surrounds you. Anyone can act tough when it's loud. Only the disciplined can stay calm when it's loud inside. That's the power of stillness. The world wants you distracted. Everything screams for your attention, your phone, your fears, your ego, your comparison to others. They want you to be reactive. Because when you're reactive, you're predictable. And when you're predictable, you're controllable. But when you master stillness, you become untouchable. You stop moving to every noise. You stop chasing every emotion. You stop answering every impulse. That's power, not the power to move, but the power to not need to move. You've trained your mind to fight, to endure, to command. Now it's time to learn to pause. Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means intention. It's the split second between reaction and response. The breath before decision, the calm before action. It's where wisdom lives. When you act from stillness, you act from clarity, not chaos. You act from strength, not fear. That's why the strongest leaders are quiet. That's why the wisest warriors are calm. They know the storm outside can't touch the one who has peace inside. You have to understand this. Most people live in noise. Their minds never stop spinning. Their emotions never stop shouting. Their distractions never stop chasing them. They think productivity means motion. But motion without meaning is madness. Stillness is where clarity begins. It's where you hear your own voice again, not the world's expectations, not social media's noise, not your ego's fears. Just the truth. That's what makes stillness dangerous, because it reveals everything you've been avoiding. When you sit still, you face yourself. And most people can't handle that. That's why they stay busy, not to progress, but to escape. But you're not escaping anymore. You've built strength. You've built endurance. Now it's time to build a presence. Because stillness isn't absence of motion, it's mastery of focus. Here's how you know you've mastered stillness. You don't rush decisions. You don't chase validation. You don't argue with noise. You move with precision. You choose with peace. You speak with weight. Every word counts. Every step has a purpose. You become deliberate, and the deliberate always dominate. Stillness gives you control over the one thing most people lose: attention. Attention is your true currency. Where it goes, your life follows. And when you scatter it across 100 distractions, you bankrupt your focus. But when you center it, when you protect your attention like gold, you become powerful. Because power follows focus. And focus lives in stillness. Let's make this real. First, create silence daily. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Sit. No noise. No phone. No scrolling. Just breathe. Stillness isn't found, it's trained. Second, delayed reaction. When emotion hits, pause. Don't speak. Don't type. Don't move. Let the emotion pass, then choose the response. That's mastery. Third, protect your attention. Guard what enters your mind. Every input is programming. If you feed on chaos, you'll live in confusion. When you learn to sit in silence, your instincts sharpen. Your intuition strengthens. Your energy focuses. Because when the noise fades, truth speaks. And truth is never loud. Stillness reveals what force hides. It shows you the difference between what's urgent and what's important. Between what you want and what you need. That's wisdom. That's alignment. You have to stop glorifying chaos. Stop wearing busyness like a badge of honor. You're not here to run in circles. You're here to move with purpose. Stillness doesn't slow your progress, it directs it. It's the space where clarity breeds confidence. And confidence leads to execution. That's the cycle of mastery. Stillness. Clarity. Action. Remember this. The loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest. Real strength doesn't perform. It doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't seek validation. It just is. Stillness is the proof of self-trust. It's evidence of emotional control. It's the signal of mental toughness. It's the endgame of the unshakable mind. You have a choice. You can keep reacting, jumping at every distraction, chasing every emotion, defending every ego bruise. Or you can slow down, breathe, and move with power. Because control isn't about domination, it's about direction. And direction comes from stillness. When your mind is quiet, your path becomes clear. When your path is clear, your pace becomes powerful. And when your pace is powerful, your life becomes unstoppable. That's the power of stillness. Now, you've mastered the journey from control to command, from endurance to peace. You've built discipline. You've rebuilt trust. You've reclaimed control. You've earned stillness. You are unshakable. But this is not the end, it's the foundation. Because stillness isn't a destination. It's the state you carry into every decision, every challenge, every victory. The mind you've built here is your armor. Carry it everywhere. Live it. Breathe it. Be it. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more stillness. It needs more discipline. It needs you to be calm, focused, and unstoppable. You have the power now. Don't rush. Don't react. Just move with purpose. That makes you unshakable. Closing message. The final challenge. You've come this far, that already makes you different. Most people listen once and forget. You didn't. You stayed. You endured every truth, every mirror, every moment that demanded more of you. Now it's time to decide. Because knowledge means nothing without command. And command means nothing without action. You've been reminded of something ancient. The truth that every warrior, every leader, every unshakable soul knows. You are your own weapon. Your emotions don't control you. Your habits don't define you. Your fears don't decide your limits. You do. That's the choice you have every single day. To react or to rise. To talk or to move. To wish or to work. So here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, live everything you've learned. Not halfway. Not someday. Now. Wake up early. Move with discipline. Act with command. Stay with endurance. Speak with stillness. And when you feel yourself slipping, stop. Breathe. Remember this. You've already built the mind that doesn't break. That's the mind that wins. That's the mind that endures. That's the unshakable mind. You now understand control is your power. Silence is your strategy. Detachment is your peace. Discipline is your freedom. Every time you don't react, you grow. Every time you show up, you win. Every time you endure, you evolve. You are no longer at war with the world. You are at peace with yourself. The unshakable mind is not built in comfort. It's built in silence. It's built in pain. It's built for purpose. So now, go prove it. Don't talk about it. Don't post about it. Live it. Quietly. Consistently. Relentlessly. Because the world doesn't need your noise. It needs your example. The unshakable mind isn't what you listen to. It's what you become. If this message spoke to you, share it. Subscribe. Keep listening. This is Beyond the Noise Studio.